Welcome, everyone, to the 36th meeting of the Park Streets Rotary Club. If everyone could stand, and again, as we always do traditionally, we just take a few minutes to meet your neighbors, and then we will get the show on the road.
Portugal and in Madrid. So we did Madrid, Granada, Seville, and we also did Cyprus, Sonya. We saw a lot. That's great. It was really easy to navigate. I thought so. I just is it the Euro? All Euro. I find it's pretty easy. Yeah. I've seen so many parks in his chatter that they have trouble with the language. He's all nervous about it. Good. Yeah, I'll tell you all about it. Yeah. So much history, so much cool history. We've done a lot of Europe. Neither have we. I've been to Barcelona on business, but I've not been to the rest of the back. Barcelona, it's different. Well, yeah, they don't get you right. Yeah. I enjoyed your book. Thank you.
Okay, if we can have everyone's attention, have Lee Waggoner. Where's Lee? Oh, there you are. Do our invocation. There you go.
Oh, okay. Okay, could I have your all's attention, please? I know it's fun to visit with folks, but I'm going to give an invocation. Before I do, I wanted to mention Fred Brown, who's had some issues with his health. He's doing okay, but he was supposed to be standing here right now and asked me to do this for him. Jody Ray is going to have surgery on this coming Wednesday. This Jody Ray that's standing right here before us. So, are there any other prayer requests? Seeing none, then let's bow our heads. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Jeff Sheehan, who had surgery last week. I didn't, you know, I'm looking around the room. I don't have a mirror here.
And I also have a prayer request. My sister-in-law was just diagnosed with breast cancer, and so we're hoping that everything goes with the doctors and well. So her name is Susan.
Okay. Let's bow our heads as we remember those folks that are mentioned, those that are not mentioned. As we gather for another Rotary meeting, let us help to be focused on all of our efforts to help others. Help us to listen to our speaker today as she talks about helping young people with issues that they may not be capable of dealing with themselves. Know that we appreciate entities like the Grant Halliburton Foundation and its efforts to help young folks, their families, and their friends. This is important work that is specifically done to help others. Amen. Let's say our Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the National Anthem. Y'all ready? All right. I pledge allegiance Thank you all. Be seated.
Thank you, Lee. And now, let's do our introduction of our guest first, then we'll do Happy Bucks. So, guest. Who has a guest?
Yes.
Guest first.
I would like to introduce Ryan Wallace, who I met 10 minutes ago, but he is a guest of another one of our new member candidates. Peyton is a digital market expert, has his own company, lives in Lake Highlands, grew up at least part of the time in Tulsa.
That's correct.
Welcome him, please.
Thank you.
Marco. I would like to introduce Marco, who came last week and has decided to come back, and we're so glad to hear from him. And he has a PhD in many, and he's very bright, and that's all I know.
Welcome.
Thank you. Happy Bucks.
Any other guest? Okay, Happy Bucks. Who has a Happy Buck? We have a few we should. There we go.
I have a couple. First, it's Friday, and it's been a long week, so yay for Friday. And secondly, I've got some joys. Next Friday, I'm traveling to Madison. My daughter's received an undergraduate research award. And then the following Friday, I'm going to A&M for my son to graduate from Texas A&M University.
Pretty good.
I found this $10 bill lying on the stairwell. Rick brought it to my attention. I just wanted to prove that a would-be politician can pass the four-way test.
And he did ask if anyone lost $10, so good job. Yeah. But it's too late now at this point, clearly.
I want to let y'all know I'm glad to be back here. Spent 5 days in Spain with my kids. Nobody killed each other. And then a few more days in Spain and Portugal with my wife, which was a nice break from the first 5 days. But anyway, it was a great trip.
Thanks, Paul. Any others? Great. Mark Neese, to our marketplace advertiser. we've gone more high-tech now. So you're the right person to do it.
I'm filling in again this week. So our marketplace advertiser this week is Nolan Duck with DBG Advisors. Nolan is a multiple Paul Harris Fellow, recipient of the Wilbur Hawkins Spirit of Rotary Award, and he's also, as most of you know, our president-elect. So we're looking forward to his term next year. He's been a member of our club since 2006 and a Rotarian for over 30 years. Nolan founded DBG Advisors, a business brokerage and M&A advisory firm. He's a board-certified broker, certified exit planning advisor, certified value builder, a real estate broker, and the past president of the Texas Association of Business Brokers. So he's qualified, I tell you. Certified and qualified. His firm guides business owners through preparing for sale and the sale of their company. He ultimately wants to help owners be prepared to sell when someone comes calling. He's also written a book titled, Are You Ready to Sell Your Business? 10 Critical Issues Every Business Owner Must Address to Get Their Business on the Right Path for a Lucrative Exit. He'd be happy to have a confidential conversation with anyone who's considering the sale of their business or anyone that you know, right? It's not about who's in the room, it's about all of our network that we all know to help each other grow our business. So if you know somebody thinking about selling or just having those conversations, or you hear that in a conversation, keep Nolan in mind. And let's thank him again for his support of the Hub and being our advertiser this week.
Thank you, Nolan, and thank you, Mark. And now I'd like to call on Richard Stanford. An announcement.
Now, as you remember, several weeks ago, we found out we don't have this room this coming Friday, and they couldn't undo it. So we're going to be off-site again. Remember, we were off-site at Austin Street a while back, and that was an eye-opener. This time, we're going to be off-site with one of our strategic partners. You tell me if we've ever been there before. Agape Clinic on Junius in East Dallas. Have we been there? Yes. Okay. It may be long enough ago that a lot of newer members have never seen. And that's next Friday. Because there will probably be 40 or 45 of us or more, we're going to have lunch in the box lunch in the Fellowship Hall of Grace, United Methodist across the street. There'll be parking on Junius, parking in Grace's lot right across the street, parking over at East Dallas Christian if you need it. But what's going to make this a little different too is Agape Clinic, and Paul Hoffman, the chief executive, is a member of this club. Paul will let us know all this, but a $500,000 grant from Crystal Charity is going into pediatric work. A multi-million-dollar grant for dental, and the new dental stuff is about to go into use, but we're going to see it first before it's used. So it's going to be a neat tour, lunch in the church tour. It's the box lunch from Preston Hollow Catering, same folks that did it at Austin Street. You can sign up online. It's $15, and just hope you can come because this is a strategic partner. Of course, we know what Tricia does, and we know what Salvation Army does, and we know Bonton some, but we'll get to meet Agape much closer. So, yes.
What's the timing on lunch?
I told President Hall to be there at 11:15. We can start serving it at 11:30, as far as I'm concerned, and then we'll walk over after lunch across the street and tour all that's going on now at Agape Clinic. It's different than what it was before. So anyway, thanks.
Thank you, Richard. A few announcements, but first I wanted just to thank everyone for the North Texas Food Bank Packing Day that was held this last week. I know Susan would like to provide some comments to it, but again, I heard it was very successful. So again, thanks to everyone for attending. And last night, wanted to reach out to Pat Martin, William Taylor, Daniel Drabinski, and all the crew that was there last night for the 20 under 40 event that was held at CFT. It was a great event, and we'll continue doing that in the future. So thank you. Tonight is the Rough Rider baseball game. Again, if you want to register online, go on to do that. Is that Herb? Are you doing the Rough Rider game? Is that Happy? Who's registering? Eric. Oh, Eric. Okay. Okay. Great. And then just a little note to that. I'm reading some notes here, I'm sorry, but 29,987 meals. What is that, Tricia? What is that number?
So that's the impact of the volunteers
Okay.
that were there last Saturday morning.
Okay.
So all the packing, so there were 2 different lines, and so people were involved in sorting, and then also some were involved in the packing of the school pantry boxes. But that's the collective impact of the volunteers last
Great. Raise your hand if you volunteered last weekend. There. Great job. We appreciate it very much. Yeah. So we're off to our raffle now. So first off, what's the big number up to on our raffle jackpot? $1,232. Great. So we're going to have our guest speaker today come pick our number, Sonya. If you can pull a number out of the hat here. And the winning number is the last 4 numbers. God, I can't even, again, I just had eye surgery, so it's been somewhat difficult. We'll audit 0, 2, 8, the anticipation, 6. Who has it? Oh, yes, Jody. Woohoo! There we go. Guys, the odds are getting better and better. This deck's getting pretty light. Ace of spades is what we're looking for here. Ah. Jack of diamonds. Next time. We appreciate it. There you go. There you go. And now if I can have Jeff Brady come up, introduce our guest, and we'll get the show on.
Another Jeff. Okay, friends, we have, some of you may know this, some may not. We have a mental health care crisis in Texas. There are no 2 ways about it. There's no other way to describe it. A new national state-by-state report shows Texans with mental health needs struggle to find affordable treatment. And that more than 88, just think about this, more than 88% of Texans live in a county where there simply aren't enough mental health care providers. In fact, Texas has the worst ratio of providers to people in the country. Texas. Particularly alarming is the state of youth mental health here in Texas. According to another report, Texas ranked 50th. 5-0. Just think about that. We ranked 50th for workforce availability in mental health care for youth. In addition, mental health care is a priority for Rotary International. Some of you may know that. Those who have seen the latest Rotary magazine right here may have already read an important article, several in fact, on mental health that it includes. If you haven't read the article, I'd encourage you to do so. That's why, but those are all reasons why I'm delighted to introduce someone right here with us today who's helping to address the problem and deliver solutions right here in Dallas. So this is great. Sonya Parker Goode is the Director of Outreach and Education at the Grant Halliburton Foundation. As we heard mentioned in the prayer just a little while ago, you may not have heard of this foundation, but since 2006, the Grant Halliburton Foundation has trained more than 325,000 students, teachers, parents, and professionals on how to recognize and respond to someone in major mental distress or a suicidal crisis. They do so through a variety of avenues, including education, conferences, collaboration, and outreach, and that's why Sonya is here with us today. Her passion for helping people led her to pursue a dual career in education and nonprofit work almost 25 years ago. So she must have started when she was about 5. About 5? Since then, she's worked as a life coach. She's worked as an anger management specialist. I'm going to see her about that later. She has successfully managed several community education programs here in Dallas County and has almost 10 years of experience in teaching secondary and post-secondary levels. She believes that mental health includes a person's emotional, psychological, and social well-being. And on a side note, Sonya enjoys spending quality time with her family and friends and singing old R&B songs. Is that right? So we may invite you back for a happy hour later. We'll do that later. Please help me give a warm Rotary welcome to Sonya Parker Goode.
hello, everyone. Thank you all for having me. I am super excited to be here. I am new to the Rotary world. I was sharing with them about 2 months ago. I was out in Salina at a Rotary Club meeting, and I did this very same presentation, and it was very well received. And we are also members of the North Texas Suicide Prevention Rotary Club. So kind of familiar with the great work that you all are doing, but would love to see you all include Grant Halliburton Foundation as one of your partners. I see you all are partnered with a lot of amazing nonprofits that I'm very familiar with and have worked with in the past, and we would love to have you all as partners as well. So I'm gonna jump right into, Jeff mentioned where suicide and mental health right now is prevalent. It is so important that we start having these conversations and talking about what mental health issues are doing to the kids in particular in this country, specifically in the state of Texas. Jeff mentioned some numbers. I will go further to let you know that Texas ranks. Last time I looked, we were 46. We may be dead last now in the space of access, students having access to mental health care. We are all the way at the bottom, and it is quite unfortunate. I do know that there are some things that are being done in this state. It's just not enough. It's not enough. The phone calls that we get every day from teachers, from parents, from family members, from caregivers, talking to us about the mental health issues of the kids, it is alarming. I will tell you a little bit about myself before I go into talking about Grant Halliburton Foundation. And I only bring up myself because I have a lot of experience in my personal life with a child who struggled with mental health issues. My husband's daughter, who is my daughter, our youngest, she started mental health issues when I think it was the 6th grade. She had gone through some bullying in school and dealt with some things that just kind of sent her spiraling. She went into a very deep, deep depression and started self-harming, started having suicidal ideations, had multiple suicide attempts. It was probably the worst thing that has ever happened to our family. My husband and I were besides ourselves. As a parents, number one, we had no idea what to do. We did not understand what was going on. We didn't understand how to help her. And to be quite frank with you, there weren't a lot of resources out there to help, or so we thought. We just didn't know how to access them. The free resources just weren't great at all. They were awful. And the resources that weren't free were resources that we couldn't afford. And that is what most of our families are dealing with now. So we, were fortunate. I was sharing with Tricia that how I came connected to Grant Halliburton Foundation is that I was just searching online at my wit's end, and I learned that Grant Halliburton Foundation, which I'll talk about in a minute, has a support group for moms. And I went to that support group. I showed up there, and I learned from the other moms in that support group about resources, about things that they had already dealt with their children, and it was a phenomenal time. I literally felt so comfortable and so good being in that group, and mainly because for me, it was a space where I realized that my family wasn't the only family going through this. It was important for me to put the dots, connect those dots, like we weren't the only family struggling. And not because I wanted other kids and other families to struggle, but because I needed help. I didn't know where else to go, and these ladies were there, and they were so supportive, and they helped me. I am happy to say that my daughter is, she's now 20. She is in college, and where she struggles, she is doing much better than when she was younger. But it took a lot of sacrifices. It wore our family out. My husband and I even separated at one point because we went into and fell into the pit of blaming one another about something that literally had nothing to do with either of us. But we fell into that pit. And so now when I come to Grant Halliburton Foundation and I work for an organization that was founded by, thank you, that was founded by a wonderful woman and her family, Miss Vanita Halliburton, almost 17 or so years ago. Vanita lost her son, Grant, who the foundation is named after, to suicide death at the age of 19. Grant was a phenomenal young man. If you come to our office, and I welcome all of you anytime, but our office is filled with Grant's artwork. He was an artist. He grew up right here in Plano. He went to Plano high schools. When he graduated, he received multiple scholarships to art schools all over the world, and he opted for UT in Austin. And I hear Vanita tell the story often that it was in his first year that he called home and he said, "Mom, if I am going to live a normal life, I need to come home and I need to get some help." And so they brought him home, and they tried to get him all of the help that they could. Unfortunately, it just was too late. Grant had reached that point where he just couldn't fight this that was on his back. And he ended up dying by suicide at the age of 19. He jumped from a 10-story building. And so imagine how tragic that was for Vanita and Alan and Amy, who is his sister. Imagine how tragic that was. But what I always tell Vanita is that she could take something so tragic and so hurtful and turn it into something like this foundation that literally has helped so many families. That's what I love, and that's what I love about working here. That's what I love about coming and speaking to people like you all, so that you will know all of the great work that the foundation does and how you can get involved in ways that we could use you or help someone that you might know. This is very, very important to us, and we take it very seriously. So our mission there, you'll see Grant Halliburton twofold, is to prevent suicide and to provide education and resources to families. I mean, that's what we're all about. We are very focused on youth, but we have come to learn over the years that it's very difficult to help our youth if we aren't helping the adults in their lives. And so therefore, we also provide education for teachers, parents. We go to nonprofits, we train staff. We go to churches, we train youth leaders, community-based organizations, really anyone that will have us at this point, because we understand, and especially since COVID, that mental health is important. And we especially want people to know and to be educated on several things related to mental health. So I'm going to talk two things. I know I don't have a lot of time, and I could spend your whole entire meeting talking about this issue. But I want you all to know about what we do in terms of services. It's, kind of threefolded. We provide education, one. Two, we provide support groups. And three, we also provide families with resources. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about those three pillars or areas. The first is Thrive. Thrive is our education program, and it is literally a strategic planning process. And our goal is when we go into the schools, we're like, we don't teach math in one class period. Like it's over and over and over. We want to make sure that the schools are infusing mental health into their academic culture. And so that's why we came up with Thrive. So we go into the schools and we talk to the parents, we talk to the teachers, we do questionnaires. We find out from that school or that district, what are you currently doing? What would they like to do around mental health? What are they doing that maybe they think is not working? We just do this survey. And then after we get all of the results from the survey, we sit down, and that's our Thrive strategy managers. They sit down and they kind of compile the information and go back to the school and make recommendations about what can they do to change that culture in their school so that kids and parents and teachers are all on board and focus on alleviating the stigma of mental health, number one, but then also educating themselves and their peers so that we can alleviate the stigma. So that's Thrive. That's, we do that. We go in, we partner with UT Southwestern, we partner with UTD Center for Brain Health, we partner with communities and schools, we partner with Hope Squad. And Hope Squad, I'll tell you, is one of those nonprofit organizations that was based out in Utah That's here in Texas now. We're pretty, we do things big here in Texas, and so we started here in Texas the Hope Squad Conference, where we do that. This was our second year last year, where we do it every year, and we invite all of the students from all of the Hope Squads all around North Texas area to the Hope Squad Conference, and we just give these kids a day of fun and learning more about mental health, and they love it. Hope Squads, we help implement them in different schools if the school wants one. We help the school implement. And Hope Squad is just this peer-to-peer support group where kids learn during their Hope Squad time all about mental health. They're not counselors, they're not therapists, we don't expect for them to be. They just become the eyes and the ears of their school. And so if they see a peer that's down and out, or if they see one of their friends that maybe sits at the lunchroom table by themselves all the time, or if they know that someone is struggling and just comes to school and says, I don't want to live anymore, they know what to do to help their peer, to get their friend to the right adult who can help them. And so that's what we're training them. We're training them about how to have more effective communication, how to have more empathy, how to just love one another. So that is what Hope Squad, and the Hope Squads are doing. Every campus that we have helped have a Hope Squad, those campuses are doing so incredibly well. One school in particular that has a Hope Squad, Jesuit, they were, the Hope Squad at Jesuit was our Beacon of Hope winners. We awarded them last year at our Beacon of Hope. We awarded them the award, our Beacon of Hope award, because they have just taken the Hope Squad so seriously, and those boys over there are just amazing. They just do a lot of good work. So that's the Thrive education. In addition to Thrive, I want you to know that about 2 summers ago, we spent the summer kind of revamping our curriculum. We now call it the Building Blocks of Mental Health. In that, the building blocks are the basics of mental health. So we focus on things like stress and anxiety, coping skills, depression and suicide prevention, understanding the teenage brain is another one of our presentations, how to have healthy relationships, how to set boundaries. So we're going in and teaching kids all of these skills, and then we've adapted these presentations so that we also have some available for their parents, because a lot of times parents want to come out and they say, hey, if my kids are learning it, I want to know what my kids are learning. So we offer these presentations to them as well, and then the teachers as well. So again, like I said, for the adults, all of this is available. In September, we have an education conference that we host every year called When Life Hands You Teenagers. Y'all, I've had 3 teenagers, so I know when life hands you teenagers, things get rough. But this conference, we say if you live with or work with teens, this is the conference for you. So we invite some of the top speakers from sometimes here in Texas, sometimes outside of Texas, but we invite them here to come to the conference, and we have a day filled with lots of education. Most of the attendees at this conference are teachers, therapists, professionals. I've been with the foundation for almost 3 years now, and every year I push for more parents to be there because, again, we can't do this mental health work in silos. Like, we all have to work together, and that means parents getting involved. As difficult as a topic it is for parents to talk about, because sometimes we feel like parents think when they come to these things that we're trying to say that their kid has a mental health issue, and it's not that. We may just want you to understand what's going on with mental health in your school so that if another child is having a problem, you can feel like you can step in and do something. Because the reality is, yes, we're all separate and we all live apart, but connectedness is the #1 protective factor. And the fact that we're so disconnected now is a problem. It's a problem for our youth, it's a problem for our families. And so that's what we're trying to do by reaching parents, is bring people together so that we can start to learn to be connected again. So September 19th is the conference this year, Wednesday. It's always at the Plano Event Center. If you all can come, go on our website. It's a wonderful conference. You would not want to miss it. Encouragement is our support group. Again, Coffee Days is a support group for moms. That is the support group that I went to. Again, we welcome all moms, no matter the background, to come out and just learn from other moms who have had children who have been dealing with either mental health issues or substance abuse issues. Dad to Dad is our series. You know, dads, it's hard to get dads to come out for support groups, and so we started the Dad to Dad series where it's more of a speaker series. We'll have breakfast in the morning, invite dads out to hear from a dad or hear from a man who has dealt with maybe a child having suicide or mental health issues. And so that's our Dad to Dad series. And then connecting people, this is our mental health navigation line. This is the bulk of what we really do every day with our what we call navigators. We have our volunteers who are our trained navigators, and when I say trained, they take 40 hours of training. They learn how to talk to people who are in mental health or dealing with mental health issues, and they answer our phones. This is not a crisis line, it's a resource line. And what we mean by resources, when people call in and they tell us what's going on with them, the person on the phone will then get to work. We're going to go and try to find that family the appropriate resource that's right for their circumstance and their situation. Not everything works for everyone, and so we are very diligent about trying to help families find the appropriate resources for their kids and themselves as well. So the navigators are great. Some people don't like calling in, so if you don't want to call in, we also have a herefortexas.com website, which is our searchable database. And we have right now, I want to say over 1,000 service providers, people from LPCs to treatment facilities to PHP, outpatient facilities, I mean all sorts of facilities that work with youth, that provide the therapy. We have those provisions on the database. So a lot of times families will go on there, they put their zip code, what's going on. Sometimes they don't have insurance. It's all families from all walks of life. They will go and visit herefortexas.com. So those are the three main areas in which we serve the community. We have recently started doing work to pilot other ways that children can access care. And that's through our, what we're now calling our Continuum of Care program. So last year we partnered with Region 10. If you don't know Region 10, they're our education service provider, so they kind of manage all of the education of all of the school districts in this region. And we partnered with them last year and co-funded a counselor. And we sent that counselor to 5 schools in 5 areas in a very rural, area where they don't have access to barely any health care. And we made that counselor available to the students on those 5 campuses. And so what we were able to see is that it is important that schools have therapists. It is very important that kids are able to be assessed. When we put our kids in athletics or at the start of the year, they have to have a physical. They cannot play a sport unless they have a physical. That is a requirement here. Why do they not get assessments for their mental health as well? It is so critical and so important, like we believe that should be happening. But why don't the schools do that? Well, obviously they say, and we know, they don't want to do that because if we assess them, then what? What do we do then? We don't have the resources. We all know Texas is dead last in students having access to mental health care. So it is a major problem that we are trying to work with partners and other coming together, collaborating with other organizations to really try to figure out how do we provide counselors to the different schools and make that available so that school districts aren't having to eat all that cost. So this is an issue that our president, Kevin Hall, that we're working on constantly getting together. We're working on something really great right now. And we hope, we're going to be looking for, funding for that. And we just hope that it will come together because we know the need. So why focus on youth mental health? I think I've said it. Thank Jeff for saying that we are in a very critical time right now, especially after COVID. Our kids are isolated. They are spending less time connecting with each other. They are having higher incidences of self-harming, higher incidences of suicide ideation. And this is something, and it's getting lower and lower in as far as age and grade levels. I had a teacher call me last month to tell me that there was a third grader who was in the classroom talking about ending her life. And for me, to be in the third grade, like what could be so wrong at that age that a child just wants to give up on life? And so, you know, just trying to help the schools put things together and help families, you know, put their lives back together is something that we are very focused on. So there's something we call the state of mental health, and I just want to touch on that just a little bit, if you'll click on the next. So in the U.S., 10% or 2.5 million youth cope with severe major depression. That's an important number. I mean, we have to look at and then ask ourselves why. Why are our students depressed? You know, there's the conversation, we all know that they're depressed because of social media. They're depressed because they have too much access to information. Like, all of that might be true, but I think we don't do enough time trying to figure out, well, why is all of that happening? What is it about us that we have decided to give our kids all of this information that they can barely process because the brain development really is not fully done until the age of 26. So our kids are struggling because they have a lot of information. So we know that in Texas, almost 10% or 234,000 youth cope with severe major depression. I hear it all the time when I go to schools. The kids, they just feel just incomplete. And I always make sure that I ask them, are you depressed or are you sad? Because there is a difference, right? We want our kids to know that it's okay to be sad. Sad is an emotion, and it's okay to feel sadness, right? It becomes a problem when it's long-term and when it's ongoing and when things shift and change in their lives. And so that's what we're looking for. And in our programming, we talk about all of those things so kids themselves can be able to identify what is the difference between big D and little d. We want our kids, and we talk to them about it in that way so that they can maybe start to feel for themselves, this is going on for just a longer than maybe it should be, and maybe I need to talk to somebody to get some help. Let's see, statistics. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in children ages 10 to 24. The second leading cause of death. That's alarming to me. When I heard that, it is the 11th leading cause of death across all ages. In 2021, almost 50,000 Americans died by suicide, and that's an estimated 1.7 million who went through a suicide attempt even. The rate of suicide is 15.15 for ages 15 through 24. Again, just too high. And then firearms, we know, account for most of the suicide deaths, especially for boys. It's firearms that is the major cause of death. So again, we always, you know, when we talk about that and we, you know, tell people, look, we're not on any end of the spectrum of whether or not you should have a gun. Like, that is not what we are talking about. And I always say to folks, I'm a gun owner, like, I get it. But what we're talking about is safety, is making sure that your kids don't have access. Because right now, what they're dealing with, especially our boys, this is the first thing that they're gonna go to. So we just want that to be known when we're out there. Then suicide is the second leading cause of death in youth. I think this is suicide in Texas. So in 2021, this was kind of like maybe the height of COVID. A little over 4,000 Texans died by suicide. Of those, 763 were youth. We know that the rate of suicide is 14.2 for all ages in Texas. And then, firearms, we talked about that a little while ago. So just so you'll know, one of the big things for us is really staying connected to families, Sometimes families will call us because their child has taken their life, and they don't know what to do. They have no idea what to do. And they really just want to talk with Vanita and sometimes the staff, our special events team, to find out, is there something that I can do in honor of my child? So we have helped families, one family in particular, her son died by suicide, and we helped them host an event. Her son loved music, and so we did a night of music and celebration for their family and for their friends, and they raised $90,000 in that night. And it was just good for them. In fact, she and her best friend were the chair of our Beacon of Hope luncheon that was just last Friday, because they just wanted to get involved. And what we are seeing with people, this is something that folks are wanting to do, is just get involved. That's a part of how they heal. So again, all of you wonderful people out here in the room, the work that you all are doing in all of the organizations that you work in, I commend you. I thank you for your work. We need more people like you all to step up and to help us, because mental health is an issue, and I don't believe that we've even touched or scratched the surface of where we're just really coming out of COVID. Our kids are behind in school. There's so many issues that happen from COVID that they're starting to lag. We're starting to see the repercussions of COVID on our kids right now. So this is gonna be, we're in this for the long haul, for the fight. And we need help. And so if we can partner with the Park Cities Rotary Club, we would love to do so in some capacity. We've been in other places where we connected, and maybe some of you know some schools that we can get in, that we could go in and provide our strategic planning, making sure that we get to those schools and see what they're doing to help with this crisis. We would be happy to come out and have more of these type of conversations in other groups that you all may be in. But just getting the word and spreading the word out, awareness is key. So if you have any questions, I do want to take the time real quick to let you all know, I mentioned When Life Hands You Teenagers Conference, but also next month on May 16th, I'm sure you all may have heard of Eric Nadell. He is the sports announcer for the Rangers. He's a big supporter of not just mental health, but Grant Halliburton Foundation. He, in fact, I believe last year came out and publicly announced his own mental health struggles, and what he went through was very, very severe and very important. But every year he has a birthday celebration, and Grant Halliburton Foundation is the beneficiary for that. So this year we are having the Eric Nadell birthday benefit on Thursday, May 16th. It's always at the Kessler Theater. It's a phenomenal event, so just want to invite you all to that. You can find out all of this on our website. Again, the When Life Hands You Teenagers Conference is coming up. And then the Hope Party. Hope Party is at the Statler Hotel, usually, well, it was last year, and that's in November. Again, great opportunities for you all to get involved. We always need navigators to help with our navigation line. We have those classes going all the time. And again, if there's anything that I can do to help your family or to help your school district, feel free to just grab me and let me know and send me an email. I have some cards. I have some information and some resources that I brought. I'll find a table to put them on so that you all can grab the information and have it when I leave. Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Sonya, thank you so much. Jeff,
question.
I'm sure several of us have a question, but we so appreciate you bringing all
Thank
this
you.
great
Thank
information.
you. I appreciate
Hey,
you.
I have a question before I hand it off to Jeff, but I have a question first. I love the idea of the Hope Squad.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes.
Do we have a Hope Squad at Highland Park High School that you know of? And if not, how can we get one in? And what's the trigger or key? What have you found is the best avenue to getting a principal or superintendent to say yes? Because there may be pushback, as you mentioned. How do we get more Hope Squads in high schools?
You know, the very way, it really is getting the administrators on board. And so we do tell parents for the schools that don't have them, if you push as a parent and as parent groups and really, because some principals, and we don't understand why, they either feel like the Hope Squad is, it's too much for kids, you know, even though our kids are learning all of this information online. We would rather them get it from one of the Hope Squad advisor in a model that has been vetted, that's research and evidence-based. We would rather them get it that way. And so it really is something. I'm not sure if Highland Park has a Hope Squad. Just off the top of my head, I can't. I've been at Hope. I attend the Park Cities PC Hope meetings. I don't recall them talking about if they have a Hope Squad. But yeah, find out. Let me know. We'd be happy to get them connected and help them get set up.
Sonya, thanks for being here.
Of course.
So just an observation, then I have 2 questions. But I recall, and like a lot of us were older, I had a few friends that, one friend particularly in the one in my high school that committed suicide. And it wasn't ever even discussed. And so the question of funding, you know, Texas is at the bottom. I've got to believe maybe it's a bit because we haven't got it through our legislators, or it's because we're such a huge state, we have such massive inflow. So that's the one question to the funding. And the other one is just speak to social media, because you hear and just how bad it is, and you hear about TikTok legislatively being dismissed now and such. So speak to those if you could.
You know, I don't know that I have the answers to those. I cannot understand, and we talk about it all the time, not understand why Texas is at the bottom. I believe that we have right now a person in leadership who says that he cares about mental health. So I don't know what it's going to take for us to move this forward to get us where we need to be. There are some things, like I said, being done. Texas is, right now, we are about to open in the city a mental health facility, a hospital for children. That's maybe 25, 26, somewhere in there, but it's in the works now, but it's not enough. It's still not where we need it to be. So I wish I had a better answer for you with that, but I don't. Funding, we know where it needs to come from. We just don't have access to it. It's not there yet. And we're funding a lot of other things, but mental health is just not one of them right now.
And then social media.
Oh, social media, yes. Look, Jeff, you're going to kick me out of here because I could talk about social media. Social media, people say, well, social media is not all bad. Yes, you're right? When it started, it was a way for us to connect with our families and friends. I used it to stay connected with my family back in Chicago. It was great. And it's great if it's for that, right? But there's so much more information out there now, and so many predators and so many, things happening on social media, and our kids are getting access to phones and technology at younger and younger ages without the education. And sometimes, even with the education, peer pressure is tough for kids. The brain is not fully developed. It's tough. We can teach peer pressure all day long, but it's bound to happen. Like, all of your friends have a phone, you want a phone. And if you don't get a phone, that's going to be another issue in your house. So to say, well, don't give the kid, that's not the answer. So we try. I think, again, I'll talk about connectedness, because even with social media, if you are staying connected, children, that is what they are missing right now. They don't have the connections that they used to have. It was different for us. We grew up in a time where the neighborhood watched out for each other, and people now, it's taboo to tell a child that's not your child what you're doing is wrong, or let's do something different. So you have to be very, very careful. Sometimes we have to be careful when we go into the schools, because we're literally afraid, what are the parents going to say? And we know we're talking about the right things, but there's something in our minds that we're always thinking about, what are the parents going to say? Because we do get a lot of pushback from parents that don't want us there talking about suicide. And it's like, okay, you would rather us talk about it than someone else. So social media, I don't know what we're going to do about that. I don't know how we pedal back on social media. I don't know how we backtrack or backpedal on what we've allowed to happen. I was reading a great article the other day, and the gentleman was talking about how young people today have a right to be upset. Like, if our goal is to get them from being upset, that's probably not going to happen, because what we've allowed to happen for them what they have to look forward to, it's really, I mean, if you talk to them, they'll tell you this is not right. It's something that they're feeling about the state of the country, and they believe it's not right. And for a lot of them, they want to give up. It's just not, you know, I don't want to do this. And I hate that feeling for kids. I'm an advocate for young folks. I love working with teenagers. I was a teenage coach, a coach for a teenager for years. I just love working with that population. And I think they enjoy talking because I listen and I hear what they have to say and what their feelings are. And so it's just really important that we connect with them and really give them time to get to know themselves and to get to know us as the adults in their lives.
So I was going to provide a testimonial because my 13-year-old is on the Hope Squad at Christ the King. Yes. It's in 7th grade. Just so you guys know, the way they do it is it's actually voted on by the class. Mm-hmm. Who would you trust if you had an issue that came up? Who would you confidentially, and my son was one of the people who was voted on that. I would actually disagree with you. You guys have involved the parents quite a bit. From the very start, the parents were brought into a nighttime session. This is what we're going to be working through. This is the training. This is everything involved with it. And then you had mentioned Jesuit. They actually had a Hope Squad lunch with the middle schoolers meeting up with the Jesuit kids this past Tuesday. Oh, wow. And my son was matched up with the head of the Jesuit squad at lunch, who is actually also the student body president at Jesuit, like lacrosse, football, incredibly, like 6'5", this big, impressive kids. So, I mean, these are like very, very impressive kids who are actually, it's viewed as like the model students. Yes. And yes, something to be incredibly proud of. So, Jeff, I agree with you that PC Hope, I could tell you we've done a lot of work in combination with the YMCA. Yes. Supporting PC Hope. We lost Ray, who was a key driver of that this past year, but I do think Hope Squad is more complementary to what they're doing with PC Hope, and actually should be implemented at the middle school level, not the high school, because by the time you get to high school, it's out there.
That's very true. Thank you for sharing that. I will say at Christ for King on May 8th, we're actually going out and hosting with another partner that we have, and we're doing a presentation for parents on fentanyl. Because in addition to mental health, y'all, there's a fentanyl crisis right now with our kids. And so we're going to be out having a presentation for the adults and their teens to talk about, where we're going to watch a documentary about fentanyl. It's about an 18-minute documentary, and once the documentary is over, we've invited former DEA officer and a speaker from the recovery resource to talk about and answer questions for the parents and the teenagers to talk about the fentanyl crisis. And so that's going to be on May 8th at Christ for King. So we'll be there. Yeah, Christ for King has had us out a few times, and we love working with them.
That's phenomenal. I want to piggyback off of what Daniel had said, and I'm not far from a teenager and wasn't middle school that long ago. And speaking from experience of being on the phone as my friend has committed suicide, to walking 7, 8 of my friends through suicide. There's similar to Hope Squad. When I was in middle school, a program called Cool to Be Kind. And guys, I was stereotypical nerd growing up, just to let everybody know. I was not 6'5", 220 pounds in middle school. I was 4'11", 76 pounds. Bullied, definitely not on the lacrosse team. But from firsthand experience, the program that we had in our school, in middle school and in high school, was called Cool to Be Kind. I never would have spoken up about anything. My parents didn't know that I had been stabbed, that I had been bullied, that I had cried myself to sleep for 4 years until I was 21 years old. But luckily, I was the person that was walking people through that process, because this didn't exist. It was me and a couple of friends that were this Cool to Be Kind crew. So the fact that now that there is a Hope Squad that is able to be, I completely agree, it should be in at the middle school and the high school level, because I've walked through it. And it's more than just social media. I'm in digital advertising and social media as a living. That's what I do now, and I see it every single day. But there is a root cause even deeper than that, and that's the addiction of approval. And that's what social media has stemmed, and that's the root cause of it, to where I see, even from my peers and what I had to go through, being in the introduction of social media is it's this approval addiction. And until there are people at that middle school level, it's not necessarily, oh, we should be scared because we're introducing the idea of suicide to them. The idea of suicide, the definition of it isn't the thing that's important. What's important is the thought process. They might not understand that there's a word, just as there's a word for anything. It's the idea that I feel like I'm not enough. I feel like the people around me don't appreciate me. I feel like I'm only 4'11", 76 pounds, and there's a 6'2" football player that's better than me. Why am I here? But a Hope Squad, a Cool to Be Kind, just that initiative, not necessarily saying, hey guys, this is what suicide is this something that you're thinking about, but rather, we're here for you and you're not alone. So just from a testimonial from someone that's close to that age, I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it. I do want to, what's your name? Peyton. We have a thing called Teen Ed Talks at our When Life Hands You Teenagers Conference. I would love to talk to you about sharing your story and talking to those teachers about what you've gone through and how they can help be better for the kids in their schools. Like, I would love to chat with you. I'll give you a card.
Sonya, thank you so much
Of
for
course,
speaking.
Thank you.
And in honor of you speaking today, a book at McSHAN Elementary will be placed in your honor. A book at McSHAN Elementary School will be placed in your honor. So thank you so much. Thank you. And now Nolan will come and do our four-way test.
If you all stand with me and repeat the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you all. I hit it hard. I mean, I did. I hope people know.